Everyone has a story. Stories have power. They help us understand. Jessop's Journal is a collection of powerful, positive, and inspirational stories. It's time for Jessop's Journal.
Hi, I'm Doug Jessop. Welcome to this episode of Jessop's Journal. Well, I've got some hints as to what we're going to talk about today. So we are going to be traveling, give you one guess where to, huh? And then we are going to, of course, garden. TV garden guy. This one, okay, life is never boring. I got to interview a guy that owns a ranch. This ranch is so special that it actually has its own TV show. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. In this entry of Jessop's Journeys, I put on the TV travel man hat and went to Mexico. For this Jessop's Journeys, we're taking a cruise with the Celebrity Solstice. We left Long Beach, went to Catalina Island, then we went to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. One of my favorite things about going on cruises is meeting people and talking to them. So I had some fun sitting down and asking questions. Today, I've got Jerry Schneider with me. So Jerry, where the heck are we today?
We are in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
What's the thing that you like best about cruising?
I don't have to do any work.
I like that. I like that a lot. True confession, I messed up the audio in one of my interviews, but thank goodness my wife Camille was here to do a little audio check.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. How many pickled peppers did Peter Piper pick?
See, that might go on the show.
Wait, what?
I grew up near the beach, and so I remember seeing jellyfish, okay? When you get stung by them, not a good feeling, okay? But when you were aboard the Celebrity, they had glass blowing, so what the heck? I made this jellyfish, okay? And it doesn't sting. Unless you drop it on your foot, but hey. Any idea what we should go do at Cabo?
You need to take a tour boat that brings you out to the, I think it's called the Arches.
Okay.
It's a entry of the harbor.
Okay.
And it's a well-known tourist destination.
Gotcha.
The tour guide will tell you all about it and the couple different beaches that are in the area and which ones not to go on.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So
because
now,
of one side is on the Pacific side and
Yeah.
it's full of rip currents. So they
okay.
one side of the beach they call the honeymoon beach.
Yes.
And the other side where the rip currents are, they call that the divorce beach.
Okay. I think you've got all kinds of stories about that one. You've heard of Pacific Coast Highway in the U.S., but did you know that Highway number 1 actually starts in Cabo San Lucas, right there at kilometer 0?
This is kilometer 0 of that highway.
Hint, they tell you you really don't want to do it. Our tour guide gave us a little insight, okay? So, you know there's a lot of people that go down to Mexico to get pharmaceuticals, okay? Well, come to find out, they don't have the same rules, and so, yeah, you could get just about anything. There's lots of free tequila tasting in Cabo San Lucas, but just be careful, you might end up looking like this lady. Now, you've probably heard of Cabo San Lucas, but have you heard of San Jose del Cabo? Cabo San Lucas is more the party city. Well, San Jose del Cabo, it's more like the responsible uncle. With another entry into Jessop's Journeys, people, places, and things you might not know about, I'm Doug Jessop. One of my favorite inspirational quotes is from Audrey Hepburn. She said, "To plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow." Hi, this is Doug Jessop, TV Garden Guy, with Lorene from Mill Creek Gardens, where?
It's always a great day.
Now, it's a great day when you get to plant roses.
You for sure need to put your roses where they're going to get at least 3 to 5 hours of sun, and they can even take the full day. You also want to put some compost in the soil, mix it 50% in the backfill soil, as well as have some great tools like pruners and gauntlet gloves. These gloves go clear up to the elbow, and they're convenient because then you don't get pricked with the roses.
Mm-hmm. Every year, there's this special sale.
I know what you're going to say.
What is it, and how long have you been doing it?
We've been doing our 99-cent geranium sale for about 25 years now.
Wow,
so
really? I didn't
come
know that
on
long.
over to Mill Creek Gardens at 3500 South on 9th East, where every day is a great day, including 99-cent geraniums. So every day is a great day at Mill Creek Gardens. Ba 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 ba.
Holidays are a funny thing. I mean, on the one hand, they can be joyous, and on the other hand, let's get real, they can be a little stressful. But there was one holiday, Thanksgiving, makes me wonder, why do we think about what we're thankful just one time a year? So here's a question I have for everyone out there right here, right now. What are you thankful for this very day, this very moment? With me today, the illustrious Jason Hewlett.
I'm already laughing.
Oh, illustrious.
The illustrious.
It's like, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, you know, what's your gig?
Yeah, so I get to entertain for corporate events as well as be a motivational, inspirational speaker. And I fuse all of the entertainment, comedy, music, all kinds of fun impressions into an inspirational message called The Promise.
The Promise?
Yeah, so I've been doing that for over 20 years now. And it's a pretty darn fun thing to do. I get to make people smile, make them think, make them go, hey, what's my voice? What makes me unique? Kind of like you with your signature hat. I call it signature moves, and we all have signature moves to discover. And so I just teach people through impressions of other people. I say, this is the voice of Louis Armstrong. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And it's like, he was told not to do that because they didn't love his voice, but he knew that was the voice he had. And we should all keep the promise to share that which makes us uniquely who we are.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree. When did you discover that you could do the voices and all that kind of fun stuff?
Oh, I mean, early on. I grew up in the 80s in Park City, and so I was a kid that grew up hearing, well, voices like on the TV. Mickey Mouse, Donald, Goofy, the Disney voices. Oh boy, hi everybody, Mickey Mouse here. Oh, here's Goofy, where's Donald? You know, so I was doing just crazy sounds as a kid, and then Pee Wee Herman came along. You know, you're not allowed to do that in schools anymore, but like, I just started to figure out that I could mimic people pretty well. And then found out later on, I went to Waterford, a private school in Sandy, Utah, and a teacher there heard me singing in the hall. And she said, you need to be in the choir. You can do amazing things with your voice. And she said, what can you do? And I showed her some of those voices. And then she said, you have a gift. You are going to make a living with that voice, and I'm going to teach you. Her name was Mrs. Rosalind Hall. She now teaches at BYU. She's a legend.
Hi, Rosalind.
Hi, Roz.
Okay.
Yeah, so she said, come into my classroom. And I sang for her stuff that I knew nobody else could do, like the Chipmunks, Alvin and the Chipmunks from the 50s, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Christmas, Christmas time is near, time for toys and time for... And she said, that's incredible. So she helped me discover my voice, and now I teach how leaders are supposed to help each other discover their gifts. It's great.
Okay, so why is it the promise? What's the phrase there?
Good
Why?
question. I mean, I do so many events where these leaders are saying, let's set goals, let's hit our goals, let's reach our goals. And I like to say, why set a goal when you can make a promise? Because if you set a goal and you miss it, you set another one. But if you make a promise and you break it, that's a one and done. So what are the things that are the sacred goals, the non-negotiables? That which you're just going to say, I will do this no matter what. And that's why I call it the promise. It's the highest level of engagement we commit to in any experience. So it's a fun way for me. If I said to you, hey Doug, I set a goal to be there on time for your, for this recording. That wouldn't be enough. I'd be like, hey man, I promise I'll be there. And you're like, okay, I believe you. That's the difference.
Now, a little birdie told me, and I don't know I'm trying to figure out what birdie voice it was, but a little birdie told me that you used to perform in this little place down the road called Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, yeah, I've had a lot of opportunities there, and that's where my career began. I was an impersonator of Elton John and Ricky Martin. So
okay.
I looked like both of them, put on the right costume, and all I had to do was perfect the signature moves of each guy. And I was for a show called Legends in Concert, and it was at the Imperial Palace. And I got to travel all around America doing the show as Elton and Ricky Martin with Elvis impersonators and Tina Turner and Whitney Houston, all these people that were great impersonators. And eventually I put together a one-man show of over 100 voices that were just, I'd bounce in and out of different voices, like the Bee Gees. Well, you can't tell by the way I sing this song. I'm singing high, but not for long. Then I'm going into, I hear the train a-coming, it's rolling around the bend. So I'm just bouncing in and out of voices. And I all of a sudden had people looking at me at casinos wanting me to come be the headliner. And so, yeah, we had a really neat opportunity there for a couple of years to consider what I was going to do and become. That didn't work out, but I'm grateful that I get to do what I do and where I've gone. It's been very cool.
So if you don't mind me asking, when you say it didn't work out, okay, come on. I'm not going to lay you off the hook that fast, okay? So there's a story behind why it didn't work out.
Yeah, and the short answer is that as I'm sitting across the table from casino billionaire that wants me to come into his casino and help him, my wife and I had driven our Subaru from Salt Lake down to Las Vegas, and we didn't realize we were being offered the opportunity of a lifetime. All I had to do was sign on the dotted line, and it said, you have to change your act, you have to make it more conducive to our audience, to our clientele. And at the time, the new slogan in Vegas was, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And my family-friendly, G-rated performance was no longer something they wanted. They wanted to mature my presentation, and we couldn't come to terms for what that would look like. And so that's why I talk about the promises. What are you willing to promise yourself that no offer can entice you to anything different? And that was one of those stories.
With me today, Dr. Micah Christensen with Anthony's Fine Art. So talk about fine art.
This is a Hanukkah lamp or menorah, and if you were Jewish, you would use this during Hanukkah to celebrate.
Now wait a second. Okay, I thought a menorah was the thing that, it had the middle and the arms. But this does not look the same.
So we've waded into deep waters, my friend. There are many different kinds of menorahs or Hanukkah lamps. They go by both names.
Right.
This shape is a Sephardic or Spanish style menorah. And it dates to a time when Jews were traveling throughout Europe. And this was seen as kind of a tiny, if you will, tabernacle. And so you can see that it has some of the shape of a building here. And this is important because in Jewish tradition, the menorah represents the menorah that was commanded in the book of Exodus to be made by Moses on Mount Sinai. We think of just the 10 Commandments happening on Sinai often. But in the book of Exodus, Moses is commanded to make a 7-light candle that goes near the Holy of Holies in the temple.
Okay, wait a second. Except this one's got 8.
This does have 8. And there's 2 reasons why this has 8. The first one is because of the origin of the menorah in the celebration of Hanukkah. Hanukkah itself is a celebration of an event that happened in 168 BCE. This is a time when it's described in the book of Maccabees, which is Jewish scripture, where the Syrians at the time had taken over the temple in Jerusalem. And the Maccabees, who are the great Jewish leaders and revolutionaries of the time, come and take back the temple from the Syrians, and the only thing they found in there was one menorah in the temple with enough oil for 1 day. Now that oil has to go through a process of being harvested olives, pressed olives, and then blessed. And that takes 8 days. And they only had enough oil for 1 day. So the Maccabees took that oil, lit the menorah, and if we were to do it on this one, what we would do is we would take this, which is the shamash, or the servant, and we would fill with oil. See this lion head? This is the first light here. We'd fill it with oil, and then we would light it on the first day, which is what they did in 168 BCE. And that oil, which is only that much, lasted for all 8 days instead of just the one that it was intended to be. seeing it as a miracle, they decided to make that a festival from then on to celebrate God's blessing of Israel after taking back the temple. And the menorah today, but the candle version, the candelabra version, is the symbol on the flag of Israel. The national symbol of Israel is the menorah.
That makes sense. Well, with another entry into with another Treasures Remembered and Dr. Micah Christensen, I'm Doug Jessop. Have you heard of Skinwalker Ranch? I got to sit down with the owner, Brandon Fugal, and get some interesting insights. Doug Jessop, welcome to this episode of Jessop's Journal from the Urban Lounge. With me today, Brandon Fugal. Brandon, thanks for coming on.
It's good to be with you.
I've been able to go all over this state and do road tours and things, and there's this little tiny area, they call it the Basin. The Basin, okay?
Yep.
You're familiar
The
with the
Uinta Basin.
The Uinta Basin, you know, it's the vernal area and everything. I remember there was this really cool ceremony out at a little place called Fort Duchesne, okay? And it's the Ute Indian tribes, and they were doing a memorial dance and ceremony and everything. And I was quite impressed by that, in that the traditions and the way that things kind of have been done for a long time. Well, there's all kinds of things that happen out there. And you apparently have a connection to the land right next to those guys.
It's literally in the dead center of the Uinta Basin. If you pull up Google Earth and you locate the exact center of the Uinta Basin, it happens to fall on a unique piece of property that I acquired roughly 5 years ago. This 512-acre assemblage has become really the site of not only global interest, but is the most scientifically studied paranormal hotspot on the planet. It was part of a Pentagon-funded black budget program that went for years, between 2008 and 2013, and has been the most secure scientific research project delving into the paranormal.
And it's called?
Skinwalker Ranch.
Skinwalker Ranch. Okay. Now, Skinwalker refers to, a particular legend. And I'm guessing that you're familiar with that legend.
Yes.
You want to fill us in?
So Skinwalker Ranch derives its name from really a curse that was apparently placed on the property in the area. The ridge, there's a mesa plateau that runs the entire expanse of this property that the generations have referred to as Skinwalker Ridge. And some time ago there was a rift between the Ute and the Navajo tribes, and the Navajo placed a curse on the property as a result of this rift that occurred, and stated that this was in the path of the Skinwalker. Now, Skinwalkers are shape-shifting demonic entities of Native American lore. Basically Native American witches that have essentially sold their souls in order to be able to take on the skin of an animal or creature, and to be able to morph and to shift their presence and really attain some measure of immortality, if you will.
Right. What made you decide to come out of the shadows?
Producers of the History Channel persuaded me to reveal my identity as part of a new investigative series called The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, which was a huge hit following the investigation and efforts of my team.
Now that you're on the other side, you're inside looking out, what's the thing that you now know that you didn't know before that surprised you the most?
Good question. I bought the ranch as a skeptic, as a healthy skeptic. I had never seen a UFO, a ghost, an orb, or anything of the sort in my life. And I disclosed that to the previous owner, an elusive billionaire out of Las Vegas named Robert Bigelow, Bigelow Aerospace. And I fully expected that, in bringing my team of scientists and security professionals onto the site, that we would ultimately learn that there was a 95% chance, I think, that there was a natural prosaic explanation for all that had been reported on the site. And it was highly unlikely, in my view, that there was anything truly extraordinary or unusual going on. In fact, I wouldn't have been surprised to uncover that it was nothing more than an adult scientific snipe hunt of sorts.
Okay.
I was wrong. You know,
Really?
I found in time, as our investigation unfolded, that the evidence just continues to get more compelling than ever. Electromagnetic anomalies matched with eyewitness and videographic witness accounts and so much documentation really attests to the reality of the strange phenomena.
I mean, it's right up against the Ute tribe land. You know, the reservation.
No, it's
out there.
completely surrounded by tribal lands.
Oh, totally surrounded.
Yep.
Wow.
It's completely surrounded by tribal lands. There's only one way in, one way out. We actually control the road. You know, we've privatized the road access in and out of the property, but it really is sequestered and secure, which makes it really the ideal living laboratory for scientific exploration.
Right, that's a good point. So you've owned this land for a while, and you kind of came in as a skeptic.
Correct.
Are there anything that you can relate that you've personally experienced that you went, ooh dear?
You bet. You know, it was funny, for 6 months, for the first 6 months of owning this property, even though my team was starting to capture on video and with their cameras strange phenomena, UFO craft over the property and other electromagnetic anomalies, seeing is believing. And I had yet to see anything, the first 6 months of visiting on a month-to-month basis that I would call, strange or unusual. In fact, I found the ranch to be a surprisingly striking landscape. It's just a beautiful backdrop. It's right out of Westworld or a John Wayne movie, and is just an incredibly beautiful landscape. And that first 6 months of owning it, I really saw nothing myself that would lead me to believe that there was anything unusual happening. Well, that all changed, and I had really with multiple witnesses with me an occasion where we saw what can only be described as an unidentified flying object, a craft 40, 50 foot long silver disc hovering right above the mesa, right in front of us. This wasn't just a blinking light in the sky or something that was a little bit ambiguous. This was a solid object that appeared out of nowhere, could move in the blink of an eye, and in fact over about a 20-second period perform maneuvers that I believe defy any propulsion physics that we're acquainted with, and was gone literally in the blink of an eye at the end of the episode, literally either blasted off and was reduced to a dot or blinked out of our view.
So did you do one of those? Did you see that?
We were in shock.
Yeah?
Yeah, we were in complete shock. It caught us all off guard. I still, to this day, I am surprised. Anyone who does their due diligence, anyone who actually conducts any degree of serious due diligence relative to the phenomena will find that there is absolute reality. You have trained fighter pilots, radar technicians, you have law enforcement professionals, you have thousands of eyewitnesses that will attest and have gone on record to the reality and regarding the reality of what is happening. Things aren't always as they seem, and
That is true.
there's more to our existence on this planet and this universe.
You wash your hands, right? Well, do you wash your nose? After you watch this story, I think you might just join me and start doing it. For real. Hygiene is the process of cleaning. You wash your hands and you wash your clothes. But did you know there was a Dr. Semmelweis back in 1848 that wrote a paper that maybe doctors should wash their hands between patients?
150 years later, when hearing that it was accepted and became standard of care here in the U.S.
A double-blind peer-reviewed study has just been published in the Journal of Clinical Virology. The study was done at the height of the Delta variant and included 500 high-risk frontline medical workers that were exposed much more than the general public. What's the bottom line? Nasal sprays containing saline and xylitol reduce the COVID transmission by 62% over the placebo.
Clear's not a drug, it's a hygiene tool. It doesn't kill, it doesn't, it washes away.
With another entry into Jessop's Journeys, People, Places, and Things You Might Not Know About, I'm Doug Jessop. What's the promise?
The promise is promising, whether you're struggling or not, if you ever feel sad, depressed, hopeless, or suicidal, you'll reach out to a friend, a family member, a trusted resource, or call or text 988. That's the promise.
It's a good one.
First you're hanging like a kite, then you grabbed onto me tight. Butterflies all along my skin, turns quicker than a meaningless grin. Spinning round like a well-oiled key, come around like a good story. And I'm no longer in my world. What if I'm no longer your girl? And you're no longer in my world. What if I'm no longer your girl? And I'm not gonna be the one that stops all the feelings you've got. I know I'm meaning to falling from the ceiling when your heart stops beating for anything, anyone but the one. It's gotta be more, and I'm not gonna be the one that stops all the dreaming. You can't find the meaning. Parachutes from the ceiling. I keep my heart beating for everything, everyone, and the one. There's gotta be more than I've left behind. And I'm not calling you back because I'm not gonna be what I was. And I'm not calling you back because I'm not gonna be what I was. And I'm not calling you back because I'm not gonna be what I was.
What makes you smile? Spry Natural Xylitol Gum makes me smile. I think it might help you too. Thanks for watching this episode of Jessop's Journal, where we share powerful, positive, and inspirational stories in music. Here's the thing I want you to remember. Everyone has a story. Yes, you have a story. Stories have power. They help us understand each other. With another entry into Jessop's Journal, I'm Doug Jessop.